ॐ ज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूप कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्तस्वामी इति नामिने। नमस्ते सरस्वती देवी गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात देश तारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। Hare Krishna everyone. So welcome you all after a long time.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just 2 week gap, isn't it?
Mhm.
Anyway, that's I think that was the plan of Lord to start it again on Jagannath Yatra day. So as we know, today is very auspicious day, is Rath Yatra, and Lord comes out to give darshan to everyone. So because He is Lord of Jagan, I know He is the Lord of all universe, Jagannath, and today is a special day where He comes out and gives His darshan to everyone. And I was hearing lecture today, even in the Rath Yatras, devotee was saying that in today's day, when the people they pull the cart with the rope, and
Mhm.
at the time they do not ask anyone, are you poor, are you rich, are you Indian, are you American, or are you black or white, Hindu or Muslim, or nothing. Everyone just pulls the Rath Yatra. Everyone's actually object is to see Lord Jagannath and pull the Rath. That is the only essence of the day. No discrimination from any point of view, isn't it? And Lord Jagannath, without any discrimination, he comes out to give his darshan for everyone. So that's again very auspicious day to start our session again. So we have been discussing Bhagavad Gita in chapter one, and we have actually there are five sections of this chapter one, and we have discussed till section 4. Today we'll discuss section 5, and before that I'll start just recap the thing we have discussed in chapter 1. Okay, so chapter 1 basically, it's basically setting of the scene. Even chapter itself, it says the observing the armies on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. So here we know that we have seen how the Dhritarashtra started a question to Sanjay, and we have discussed about what the reason of having this war, that these Kauravas, they actually even they politically, they by envious and other things, they actually taken up away all the things of Pandavas. And Pandavas, they at the end, they were very much, they wish that if they could get 5 villages, then only they will be happy, and in that only they will be happy, and they will be all good. But even this Duryodhana, he don't wanted to give. Okay, thank you. Even he don't wanted to give just 5 villages to them, and then hence this battlefield has, by the plan of providence, it happened. So the Dhritarashtra started asking a question to. One second. हाँ ठीक है, चलो मैं बंद करता हूँ. Okay, sorry. And then basically before this happening, that the other disaster wanted to, he can't see, but he wanted to hear this. And Vyasadeva, he came and he said, okay, I can give you this vision, but uh, he gave this vision to Sanjay, so Sanjay could actually see. So right now we see television, right now it broadcasted by all the channels and things, but it was already there in this in the by the sages mantras, they can actually give all these things. And Vyasadeva, he gave this divine vision to Sanjay, so he could see everything what's happening in Kurukshetra, living in Hastinapur. So the Dhritarashtra started questioning that what happening over there, and in the place pilgrimage, in a place of pilgrimage, that's Kurukshetra, Dharmakshetra. My sons and the sons of Pandu, they have assembled, desiring to fight. What did they do? This was basically, we can say, as a vague question, Also, it's a very, very important question. So a vague question means, anyway, they are there to fight in the battlefield. So what the question to ask, that what are they are doing over there? An important question, because still Dhritarashtra has a hope that might, because of this pious place, a dharma place, this Pandavas, they are dharmas, they are dharmis, and they might, you know, give up the war, and my son can get this kingdom. So Dhritarashtra was desirous of his son to become, to get the kingdom. He was still doubtful for their victory, and he has a fear of the holy place. And also, he was still hopeful that okay, Pandavas might renounce. So, and then discussion happened. We discussed about how Duryodhana was actually very fearful, but still diplomatically he he went back to Bhishma Pitama, to Dronacharya, and then he narrated about everything, that how our parties are, how Pandavas parties are, and he tried to arouse anger in uh, Dronacharya as well as Bhishma Pitama, so that they fight vigilantly. And he has a very hope that if these two, Dronacharya and Bhishma Pitama, they fight without any biasing, then I'm going to win this war. And after that, in the third section, we have seen how the blowing of conch shell. So the conch shell from the both parties has blown. So when Bhishma Pitama was impressed by Duryodhana, and Bhishma Pitama could not speak anything, he didn't say anything. However, he blowed conch shell. And blowing of conch shell, it becomes auspicious for Pandavas. As we know that we discussed, that blowing of conch shell is basically worshipping of Lord Vishnu starts. And Bhishma Pitama has blown the conch shell and he worshipped Krishna, who is on the other side. And hence, this is a very first indication that they are going to win the war. And then, even it's been described, and we discussed that when this Bhishma Pitama and others, the blue council from Kaurava sides, nothing happened in the Pandava side. But when Lord Sri Krishna and others, and Arjuna and others, they started blowing the council, the heart started shivering in the party of uh, Kauravas. So, and also very, it's been, I think one of the Acharya was describing that these 5 or 6 persons whose consul's name was being given in Mahabharata, in Bhagavad Gita, they were the only one who actually left after the battle, right? And so many people has died actually in this war. And we have discussed like how this Krishna's counsel is transcendental, it's Dibya Shank, and everything were nicely said that these are the Dibya Shank, and they started blowing over there, right? And we have discussed like how in last section of Bhagavad Gita, Sanjay says that Yatra Yogeshwara Krishna, Yatra Partha Dhanurdhara. So wherever there is Krishna and Arjuna, what's happened? Tatra Sri Vijayur Bhutir Dhruva Nitir Matir Mama. So this is my opinion. Sanjay says after hearing all Bhagavad Gita that wherever there is Krishna and where there is Arjuna, whatever the case is, always there is opulence, victory, power, and morality. And that's my opinion. That's the conclusion of Bhagavad Gita, basically, 18.78. And this conscious names of Krishna and Arjuna, it's that nice verse. It says, Panchajanam Rishikesho, Devadattam Dhananjaya, Paundram Dardam Mahashankho, Bhima Karma, Brukodara. So these are the council's names of the Pandavas being given. That also we discussed. And we discussed about a very important point where Prabhupada writes in the purport that Krishna's name, there are so many thousands and thousands, millions and millions of name of Lord Sri Krishna. And Lord Krishna abide with all his name. So is Madhusudana because he killed a demon named Madhu, and Sudana means killing. So he got a name Madhusudana. He went away from the battlefield, so he became Ranchod, right? So he is the son of Vasudeva, he becomes Vasudeva. He is son of Mother Devaki, he becomes Devaki Nandan. He is son of Mother Yashoda, he becomes Yashoda Nandan. He became the chariot driver of Arjuna, his name become Partha Sarthi. So as the love and connection happens with Lord Krishna, he gets another name and another name and another name, right? So that's how we have discussed as of now. And The fourth section, what we discuss is Arjuna, before just he was actually ready, like his bow and arrow are all ready. He ready for shoot the arrow. And then he asked Krishna that please take me, and I wanted to see who are there who have came to fight with me, right? Taking a part of Durbudhir, like the Dhritarashtra, right? That's how Lord Krishna then took this chariot in middle of opponent, where he just placed the chariot in between where he could see Dronacharya and Vishnu Pitama. Krishna was become very he wanted to actually see give us this Bhagavad Gita, and he somehow other he put Arjuna in illusion. So that was his plan, because he wanted to give us Bhagavad Gita through Arjuna, right? And he says, let me see those who have come here to fight, wishing to please the evil-minded son of Dhritarashtra, right? And that's till that now we have discussed. So what happened after seeing all these personalities? He could see his father, he could like the father, like uh, people, he could see all his relatives, like a grandfather, teachers, uncle, brothers, sons and grandsons, father-in-law, all well-wisher. And he became, you know he started trembling by seeing everything, that oh my goodness, I'm going to fight with these people, right? And then he says that's basically a turning point of Bhagavad Gita, or first chapter, where he's he says that I don't want to fight the war, oh Krishna. And then he started giving nice reasons. He actually gave 5 reasons. 4 reasons are in chapter 1, and 1 reason in the starting of chapter 2. So as of now, Krishna hasn't spoken anything. Just Krishna is actually hearing what Arjuna is saying, right? So now the turning point starts, the section 5 of chapter number 1, where Arjuna, he gives a reason not to fight. So I think till this we have discussed earlier. So I just wanted to recap, so that it's been 2 3 week back gap. So just to recap, and we are on the same place and same page as well. So first uh, what do you say? First reason Arjuna gave is compassion. He says, "Oh my dear Krishna," he says very nicely, that 28 verse, Arjuna Uvacha, Drishtva Swajanam Krishna, use some samupasthitam. So he says, by seeing my friends, my relatives, they are present before me in such a fighting spirit, I feel the limbs of my body are quivering and my mouth drying up. Siddhanti mama gatrani mukham cha parishrushyati. So he says, my I'm saying something bad ahead, right? So, and Prabhupada says very nicely that this is the quality of a genuine devotee of the Lord. Though he is in battlefield, and anyone in the battlefield, he would not think anything apart killing his opponent. But Arjuna, see, he's saying to Lord Krishna that, my dear Krishna, by seeing all these people who have assembled here to fight this war, I am, my limbs are getting quivered, I am quivering and my mouths are drying up. The Prabhupada says, any man who has genuine devotion to the Lord has all the good qualities which are found in godly persons. So Arjuna became overwhelmed by compassion for them. It's not because Arjuna saying, okay, I don't want to fight. There are great personality like Bhima, Bhishma and Dronacharya, and they will kill me. It's not that. The compassion is because of his that he's going to kill either way towards relatives, right? And Prabhupada says this such symptoms of compassion in Arjuna were not due to weakness but to his soft-heartedness. So he was very soft-hearted towards everyone, and this is a characteristics of a pure devotee of the Lord, right? In Bhagavatam, there's a verse comes, Prabhupada mentions in his purport. He says, 5.18.12. He says, one who has unflinching devotion for the personality of Godhead has all the good qualities of the Devatas, but one who is not a devotee of the Lord has only material qualification and that are of little value. So this is because he is hovering on the material mental plane and is certain to be attracted by the glaring material energy. So getting devoted towards Lord Sri Krishna, the people they started getting good qualities as if of devatas. And other way around, you may have been so much opulent, so much fan followers, so much big bungalow, big car, everything. But if there is no devotion towards Lords, it's of just little value. Why little value? It's being said because as you give up this body, everything becomes zero for you, right? And then there are creates symptoms started revealing from his body of Arjuna. He says, my body is trembling, my hair standing on the end. These are not because of fear, right? It's because of compassion. And my bow, his Gandiva, he's slipping from my hand. Gandiva is very, very, he is very proud of his bow. And it happened once, like he has said that anyone who could, say anything bad about my Gandiva, I will kill him right away. And it happened like once. There is a fight happened between in the Mahabharata itself. There's a fight happened between Karna and Yudhishthira Maharaj. And going back to the past times, what happened? Like Karna, we know that Karna is a son of Kunti, and though he's a brother of Pandavas. So what happened before the fight of the war? Actually, Lord Krishna, he went to Karna and says, these are your brothers. You should not fight. You come back to this party. But Karna says, no, uh, I won't. And that's a different story. However, and then the fight happened between Karna and Yudhishthira Maharaj, and Yudhishthira Maharaj is being defeated by Karna, and Karna said, I give your life, I don't kill you. He says because he has given a vow to Kunti Maharani that I will kill only one son of yours, or I will die. That's basically he wanted to have rivalry against Arjuna. So in this way, Yudhishthira Maharaj was being his life was being given by Karna, and when Arjuna heard it, he actually came back to see Yudhishthira Maharaj. Right. So how are you? How it everything is gone good? Then Yudhishthira Maharaj asked Arjuna that did you kill Karna and came here? He says no, I just came to check your things. So he said no. Yudhishthira Maharaj says some bad words. Bad words means he says you should give up your Gandiva and I think you should have killed Karna and came to see me. And how proud of you, how proud you are of your Gandiva, and now you are just coming to see me rather than fighting with Karna and killing him. And as these words being said by Yudhishthira Maharaj, Arjuna became very angry, and as for his vow, he has to kill Yudhishthira Maharaj, right? So at the same time, Krishna came in between. He says, "That's okay. You have taken a vow, and you will fulfill your vow as well." And let's see how. Then Krishna says, "So when elders are being said bad words, it's like death for them. So you can just say something bad to Vishnu Maharaj and you will you will fulfill your vow as well." So though it was providence and Arjuna has said some bad word to Vishnu Maharaj, and after saying it he started crying. He just fell on the feet of Vishnu Maharaj. He says, how am I, like I'm saying bad word to my little brother. So that's a pastime. So this is basically the says the significance of Gandiva, his bow, and that Gandiva is slipping from his hand. Just imagine it, just because of compassion. He says, my skin are burning, my body is trembling, my hair standing on my hand, my mouth is drying up. So these are the ways, the symptoms Arjuna showed by seeing all the people, especially Bhishma Pitama and Dronacharya standing before him to fight, because Bhishma Pitama always supported him in every situation, and Dronacharya was his teacher. And Prabhupada here says that there are two kinds of trembling of the body and the two kinds of standing on the hair on the end. So such phenomena occur either in great spiritual ecstasy or out of great fear under material condition. So either with great ecstasy, people can feel this trembling of the body and standing of hair on the end. But Prabhupada here says Arjuna's symptoms in this situation are out of material fear, that okay, this is a war and people will die, these are the things, basically more compassion toward this, right? So and then after that, after his resembling all this, he says my bow is going down, and now he says I am now unable to stand here any longer. I'm falling down, and I am forgetting myself, and my mind is railing. I see only causes of misfortune. O Krishna, killer of the Keshi demon. So he says, oh Keshava, Krishna is being called as Keshava here. Keshava means Krishna killed Keshi demon, so he got a name Keshava. So right now the situation is basically Arjuna started about to fight, but now he is turn other way around. He just don't wanted to fight at all. He says, I'm just falling down, and I'm forgetting everything, and I just see only the causes of misfortune. It means what he could see is the near future, that these are all misfortune. And Prabhupada says here that excessive attachment for material things put a man in such a bewildering condition for existence, right? So it's like, if we can take an example how it happens. I was thinking, let's suppose when you buy a car right now, whatever you want to, just imagine you wanted the best car and you got it, right? And you are standing over there in the car, and someone comes and scratches the car, right? What happens? What do you feel? We feel like someone actually scratched our own body, isn't it? The car is being scratched, the car is another thing and we are another thing, but that scratching looks to be in our own body. In a similar way, Prabhupada says excessive attachment for any material things puts a man in this kind of bewildering condition of existence, right? So Arjuna was not at all in a condition to fight. He was even not in a condition to stand as well. He was just thinking that what's going to happen. So that was the first reason of being so much compassion for everyone, to his father, like people, his teacher, sons, grandsons, and everyone. And then he gave the second reason. The first reason was compassion, and second reason he says no enjoyment in victory. It means, so we fight and we win. We win to enjoy, to do some enjoyment, isn't it? Let's suppose the World Cup, yesterday has happened. So the match happened because some country can win and they can enjoy it, or in another way around, some people will cry as well, right? So he says there is no enjoyment in victory. He says in 31 verse, Nacha Shreyo Anupashyami Hatva Swajanam Avhave Na Kangshe Vijayam Krishna Na Cha Rajyam Sukhani Cha. He's saying very nicely that I do not see how any good can come from killing my own kinsman in this battle, because he has seen everyone there, and now he is saying I do not see any good thing in killing my own kinsman, nor can I see my dear Krishna desire any subsequent victory, kingdom, or happiness. So the thing is that he's putting his point that when we get something or we want to enjoy something, we need our relatives, we need our kinsmen to enjoy with us. And if there is no one, then what is the use of that victory? Because there is no one who will be there to enjoy with me. So this point here is made by Arjuna, that there is no enjoyment in victory, and I do not see any good that can come by killing our own men. And Arjuna has actually fully lost his interest in fighting now. And Arjuna, though he appears to be forgotten the moral codes of Kshatriya as well, just because due to attraction of bodily relationship. You will see in further ahead, Arjuna says this to Krishna, that Krishna, I know, the Kauravas, they have come here desiring to fight. I know it very well, but they had a desire to win the kingdom. But we can think ahead, we can think of the future, we can see that there is no use, and I know even by winning the kingdom, there is no one will be there to enjoy this kingdom. So what the use of that? We can say it. Let Duryodhana and other party, they could not see, but we could see. Then why shall we fight? Right? If you can see that something sin is going to happen, then why shall we do the sinful activities? Right? That's basically the fourth or no, third reasons he gave. So now he's saying any more things. He says, "O Govinda, of what avail to us are a kingdom, happiness, or even life itself, when all those whom we may desire them are now arrayed in this battlefield?" So everyone is there to lay down their life. So what are the use when we win it? O Madhusudana, he's saying very nicely that when teachers, fathers, sons, grandfathers, maternal uncles, father-in-law, grandson, brother-in-law, and other relatives are ready to give up their lives and properties and are standing before me, and why should I wish to kill them, even though they might otherwise kill me? Let them kill me, and I am not going to kill them. And he's saying, I am not prepared to fight at all. And I'm not prepared to fight with them in exchange of these three worlds, not just kingdom of earth. He's saying, even if someone gives me three world, I don't want to kill my kinsman. Right? And he's saying, actually, if you see, if you analyze this point, he's making a very, very, very valid point, isn't it? So what pleasure we will derive from killing the sons of Dhritarashtra? There is no point of killing our own kinsmen for getting something, right? So Arjuna's points are very quite valid. However, Krishna counteracts and Krishna gives this reason in following chapters of Bhagavad Gita, right? And the third reason is given by Arjuna to not to fight is fear of sinful reaction. So he says, uh, if we do all these things, sin will be acquired by us. We will acquire sinful reactions. He says, sin will overcome us if we slay such aggressors. So aggressors word being used here, and Prabhupada mentions nice about what aggressors are and what can be done in that. And he says, therefore, it is not proper for us to kill the sons of Dhritarashtra and our friends. So, what should we gain, O Krishna, O husband of goddess of fortune, and how could we be happy by killing our own kinsmen? So, first point he says about compassion, and then second, uh, he's saying that there is no kind of there is no enjoyment in fighting this war or winning this war. Even by win, there is no one will be there to enjoy with us. And now he's saying that even by killing everyone, there is sinful reactions comes up, isn't it? That's a fact. And if we slay uh, people, then sin will overcome us. And how can we be happy by killing our own kinsman? So there is no point. And Prabhupada mentions here that according to Vedic injunctions, there are 6 kind of aggressors. So aggressors are the one, Prabhupada says, they can be killed at once, but that's the point. But we have another set of rules as well. These are the Vedic rules, and the rules or the code of conduct where we are living, right? Our government have some rules as well. So the point is being mentioned here, but if we see something like that, we need to approach to our government rules and regulations, then we can take this action, right? So they have been there to take these actions rather than we personally take these actions. So just I'm making clear before going to this point. So the 6 aggressors are said as a poison giver. So if someone wants to give poison, you can actually directly kill them back. And one who sets fire to the house, and one who attacks with deadly weapons. So to save yourself, you can actually attack back, and you can kill them, right? And one who plunders the riches, and one who occupies another's land, and one who kidnaps a wife. So these are the six aggressors being described in the Vedic injunctions, and such aggressors are at once to be killed, and no sin is incurred by killing such aggressors. So that's what being said. And then Arjuna, he says to Krishna as Madhava. He says Madhava means who is the husband of goddess of fortune, Lakshmi, right? And this point, Prabhupada makes a point that addressing Lord Krishna as Madhava is also very significant in this connection, because he wanted to point out Krishna that as the husband of goddess of fortune, he should not induce Arjuna to take up the matter which would ultimately bring about misfortune. And Krishna, however, never brings misfortune to anyone, to say nothing of his devotee. So Krishna can never bring any kind of misfortune to anyone. And Arjuna was anyway his pure devotee, right? So, and if you see, this Kauravas actually they have done all, they have played the part, or they have done this kind of aggressors activity. All the six, they have tried to give poison to Bhima, right? We know this. They have even in childhood, they gave poison to Bhima, and then they rolled Bhima in a coil, and then they threw them in Ganges, and somehow or the other Bhima had actually entered to the Nagaloka, and he was beaten by snakes, and this poison anti poison contracted, he came to life, and then he got boon from there as well, that okay, you will have so much strength, and if poison won't work to you anymore, kind of this. And then they have tried to set fire to the house of the Pandavas, the pastime of Lakshagriha, and then how they set the fire, and they have tried to attack with deadly weapons as well, and they have openly, they have taken all the riches of Pandavas, and they have also taken all these their lands as well, and they uh, there's a very very big blunder they have made by trying to disrobe Draupadi on the assembly as well. So these all six kind of aggressors, and all the six activities are being uh, done by Kauravas. So the point is, there is, though Arjuna is saying that we will acquire sin, but there is no sin will come by killing those, because they have done all this, all that they have crossed all the limits actually. So that's the point, right? And then the fourth reason Arjuna gives is again very very valid, right? Though he, it went in other way around. Krishna clarified it later on, but from our perspective, we can say yes, it's correct as well. The fourth reason was that harmful effect of destroying the family. So what happens? He says nicely, kulaksheya pranashanti kula dharma sanatanaha dharme nasto kulam krishna adharmo abhivaditaha. So when the destruction of the dynasty or the eternal family tradition is vanquished, and thus the rest of the family becomes involved in relation. So that's why it's being said that there should be one, in the lineage of the family, one who should able to take care of the decision of everything, right? And the family should be controlled by one superior person, and that's how the family tradition should be maintained. And he says here that if you kill this, then the family tradition might, or it will vanquish anyway, because people will die, and hence it will give rise to uh, religion. So Prabhupada says that in the system of Varnashram institution, there are many principles of religious traditions to help members of the family grow properly and attain spiritual values. So the elder members are responsible for such purifying processes in the family, and beginning from the birth to death. So even even before birth, there are so many ceremonies are being done, right? And after that also, ceremonies are being done for this, uh, for liberation, for the spiritual values. And he says, the Prabhupada says that, but on the death of the elder members, such family tradition of purification will stop, because there is no one to give the pindadan and other things, right? And the remaining younger family members may develop irreligious habits and thereby they lose their chance for spiritual salvation. Prabhupada makes again a nice point that, making point of Arjuna, that if that happens, then their spiritual salvation, because we as a living entity, we actually wanted to go back to spiritual world, isn't it? And that will also be missed. And therefore, no for no purpose should the elders members of the family be slain or should be cleaned. And nicely said in the next couple of verses that when irreligion is prominent in the family, the women of the family, they become polluted. And from the degradation of the womanhood, a descendant of Vrishni, O Krishna, what happens? The unwanted progeny comes. So that's why it's being, in our Vedic tradition is being said that the striya, or the ladies of the house, they should be, very, very, you know uh, in a proper, what do you say, a proper, uh, I'm talking the word, in a proper care, you can say, right? It's being described, the Shastra says that uh, a wife should be in the care of husband, or the son, and the daughter should be, or sister should be in the care of brother or father. In the similar way, the ladies, they should be always in the protection of uh, these elders, or who can protect them properly, because by the degradation of womanhood, the unwanted progeny comes, and that is basically, we give the irreligion becomes prominent. And uh, and then he says that by doing this, Arjuna is not just finishing by saying this one thing, okay, we will get the sinful activity, sinful reactions. He's making more valid point. He says when it happens, unwanted population will actually, they lead to hellish life. And for what? For both the family and for those who destroy the family tradition. So unwanted population, they will lead the life to a hellish, as well as the one who's tried. And Arjuna is saying that we will be the cause of making this unwanted population, right? Because we will be killing that family tradition, we will be killing this, elder member of this family. And hence, uh, the ancestors, they will also fall down, because there won't be performance of the final rituals, or there will be no one to offer them, food and water, for, as if like on pindadans kind of things. So no one will be there, it will be all stopped. So anyhow, it's becoming more and more irreligions, and we will be the part of this action. So definitely we'll get sin as well. And hence, he says family tradition will be destroyed, thus it will give rise to unwanted children, and family welfare activities are devastated. So, O Krishna, aho bata mahat papam kartum vyachita vayam yad rajya sukha lobhena. Very nicely says that, yes, yad rajya sukha lobhena, just for the desire of getting the kingdom, hantum swajanam mudhyata. So he says, it's just to enjoy this Raja Sukha, to get this, with a, lover, for to enjoy the desire to enjoy this, Raja Sukha, we will be killing so many, people, or basically our kinsmen. He says how strange it is that we are preparing to commit grateful sinful activities or sinful acts. And for what? Because of Rajya Sukha, desiring for to enjoy the royal happiness, to become the kingdom, and we are intent to kill our own kinsmen. But if you see, this is basically because Arjuna has become so much attached now by seeing everyone. But the real part is actually Krishna wanted to, you know, finish the adharma and re-establish dharma, and that's what is missing here from Arjuna, because he became so much, overwhelmed by seeing his kinsmen standing before him to fight, to kill each other. And now he says very nicely, couple of, verses. He says, "Better for me if the sons of Dhritarashtra, with their weapon, they kill me. I am unarmed, and even I don't restrict them. I don't oppose them. Let them kill me." And that's how Arjuna has completely decided that, even if they attack, And if I don't have any bow in my hand, and if they attack in this awkward position, let them do it, and I'm not going to fight as well. And Prabhupada mentions very nicely that all these symptoms are just because of soft-heartedness of Arjuna. It's not because he was coward. He's not because he don't know how to fight. He's not because he was fearful of fighting with the people. It's not that. It's just because he was soft-hearted, right? And then the last verse of this chapter, Sanjay says, uh, Sanjay Uvacha, evam evam muktva Arjuna shankhe रथोपस्थ उपाविष्ट विसृज्य सस्रम चापम शोक संविघ्न manasa. So Sanjay says that Arjuna, having thus spoken on the battlefield, he cast aside his bow and arrows and sat down on the chariot, his mind overwhelmed with grief. So that's basically giving the 4 valid reasons not to fight, and with proper examples, saying that okay, I don't want to fight with Krishna. I don't want to fight with the battlefield, oh Krishna. So please help me out. And that's basically the whole arena being set for Bhagavad Gita, and Krishna will start speaking from chapter 2. So, and Prabhupada mentioned a very, 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 very diligent line on this purport. He says, such a kind and soft-hearted person in the devotional service of the Lord is fit to receive self-knowledge. So, to how to get this self-knowledge from acharyas, from the Lord Krishna directly, by becoming or making our heart a soft-hearted person, right? So becoming a humble, becoming soft-hearted is a basically great quality to receive devotional service, or we can say as devotional instructions from the Guru. And then we'll see how Krishna will start giving this knowledge to Arjuna, so that his ignorance, which has been overwhelmed by seeing his kinsman, will go away, right? So I'll stop here. Anyone have any questions or thought, please you can ask or we can discuss.
Prabhu, just a quick question. How did that topic come? Maybe I have missed it. Regarding women's getting impious and all. How did that come into context?
So Arjuna says that when we'll kill these elders people, Kulakshena Prashanti. So the destruction of dynasty will happen because there will no one to take care or guide the ladies, and they will get polluted. And if that get polluted, then unwanted children will come up, and that will uh, happen because no one will be there to do these final rituals and other things, and no one will be they will plan their own things towards hellish life, right? So that's Arjuna is giving this example, that this making a point that if we kill all this, then the final destruction will also happen in this way. Because
Got it.
is there to take care of this.
Got it.
Okay, so thank you everyone. And so just let me know about your thoughts. Okay, I'll stop here and then we'll discuss that for a couple of minutes. ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भगवद गीता की
जय
जय, श्री प्रभुपाद की
जय
वैष्णव वृंद की
जय
हरे कृष्ण।